And a lot of times you won't even realize you're wasting your time until you've wasted a shitload of time, which is that much more frustrating.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Torie Mathis, and I'm here with the one and only Sean Mathis, founder of Miles Through Time Automotive Museum.
What's going on, guys?
And you know, we've both been in business for a really long time. And one thing about having a small business, especially if you're a solopreneur or a service-based business where you're the one actually doing the work, one of the worst things for your business is wasting time. Sean, do you agree?
Absolutely. And it's super easy to wind up wasting your time. And a lot of times you won't even realize you're wasting your time until you've wasted a shitload of time, which is that much more frustrating.
I hate when I get to the end of the day and I feel like I was busy. I was doing things all day, but I got nothing done. And you know, you put a couple of those days in a row and you're not moving towards your goals. You're not making more money. You're not doing the things that are important to get your business to grow. You're just being busy, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, and I mean, it really depends on what it is that you actually need to do. Because when you're self-employed and like you're the one that's got certain things to do, and if you don't do them, nobody else is going to be able to do them. You combine that with all the other distractions that may be there, whether it's just checking social media, which has nothing, may or may not have anything to do with your business, to things that like really are important to your business, like checking your email. Just doing that could wind up wasting your entire day. Like Torie, you can only check your email so often because otherwise you never leave your email. Your whole day turns into email.
It could very easily. Yes.
Which, in retrospect, like with our business, we try to avoid phone calls because that'll waste our time. Because just like your email, you can get stuck in email all day. I mean, just as easily get stuck on the phone all day long. And when that happens, I mean, it literally turns into a waste of the day because, I mean, what are we getting done other than taking notes off of whatever the phone call's about, which then we have to then do something with. And, and a lot of times nobody wants to pick my brain, but they all want to pick your brain and get nowhere from it. And that's super frustrating.
One thing that allowed me to do a lot more just in general and kind of take our business to different levels was to stop taking phone calls. Like I will not answer my phone because, man, I love being chatty too, but during my workday, like I am not like on somebody else's dollar where I can just sit there and, do that water cooler banter. Like I have a lot of things to do. I have a lot of people's projects that I'm working on. I have our own projects that I'm working on. And if I get chatty on a couple phone calls, not only does it stop my momentum, but it also it's not moving me forward. And like, I don't want to be a jerk and I want to be friendly or whatever. But for me, like the best thing to do was to not take phone calls. And so if somebody wants to get me on the phone, they need to schedule it with me. And a lot of times, like even for, having you schedule them for me, that saves me even more time. That way, because sometimes they don't really need to talk to me is the thing. A lot of times these phone calls are things that could really easily either be handled by you or be handled by a text or an email. Like I said, I want to be friendly. I want to be nice. I love like the relationship that I have with clients, but I really can't be on the phone all day with them being chatty, if I want to get ahead in my business.
Well, and there's a time and a place for phone calls. There's a time and a place for video calls. There's a time for emails, but they're not always interchangeable. Like we've gotten, I personally have gotten emails that will say, "Hey, I need to schedule a phone call or something to go over some changes." And to me, I'm like, "You sent me the email. What are the changes?" Like, at the time I opened that email, I could have done it then, but now I've got to figure out, well, like, is it now is it something that I can do, or is it something I've got to get Torie involved? I've got to schedule the time. Our schedules have to match up so that both sides of the party can come. And then that goes back and forth on, okay, well, I'm available Wednesday at 11. And they're like, well, I'm only available Tuesday at 2. And I'm like, well, I'm not available on that time. And it goes back when really, like, tell me what you need. If I can take care of it via email and get it done, we're done. If I can't, then we can go from there.
Okay, but see, there are phone calls that have to be taken. For example, miles through time calls have to be taken. And they have to be taken pretty much right now by you because of the connections that you have and because of the answers that you're giving people. So no matter what, you're able to jump on the phone and take the calls that are necessary.
And I guess it really does depend on how your business is set up. Like for ours with Lake Shark Media and everything that we do regarding Smart AF and Torie Mathis and all that, phone calls are not what we want to do. But on the flip side, miles through time, like a lot of people, like I'm on and off the phone within minutes because especially right now during all this COVID, they just want to know if I'm open. It doesn't make sense for them to send an email and then wait. Because the other thing too is there's not that, like, I may be really responsive on the email and I know I'm more responsive than most people, especially when they come back and they're like, wow, thanks for answering my questions so quickly. But I don't think it's that common. So when all they want to know is, hey, are you open? A quick phone call is definitely the right direction to go.
Well, that's the difference though between like a service-based business also, that like I'm very project-based and I'm not doing a lot of little projects but a lot of big projects where I need to be able to sit down for hours at a time without being interrupted. Otherwise, like having to restart and like get back to where I was, it's just, it definitely does not work. I think if you do have a business that you do need to take phone calls, I think one thing you can think of though is like, does it need to be you that takes the calls? Because you at first, when you opened back up into the new location at Miles Through Time, you actually have people that are taking the tickets and getting people into the museum. And they did take the Miles Through Time phone calls for a little while, but they were not the right people to be answering the phone. So you found that you had to, for right now, it needs to be you, right?
Yeah, and I didn't even know if they were answering the phone calls. So no, it was not the answer at the time. And it's not like I get a whole lot of email or phone calls. So it's really not that big of a deal and I get used to it. But it's like me physically going to the museum. It's completely different for visitors when I'm there versus when nobody's there. And I think it's the same on the phone because a lot of, other than, outside the are you open, chances are I'm the only one that's going to be able to answer the other questions that they have. So until I have somebody that's like on board, with everything that's going on and wants to take phone calls, it's going to be me. But again, I'm in no rush, so I'm perfectly okay with it.
I get a lot of people for me that they email me and they say, hey, let's jump on a phone call so I can talk about a project that I have coming up. And I'm like, well, I do a lot of things, and there are a lot of things that I've done in the past that maybe I'm not really doing right now. So I think that in that kind of case, and unfortunately, I have to go back to them through email and be like, well, why don't you tell me a little bit more about what you got going on, and then we can see if we need to jump on a phone call. I just did that recently, just to make sure that that's even, because if in email I need to be like, whoa, I'm not the right person for that, or, we're not the right business for that, I can point them in the right direction without having to stop everything I'm doing, possibly jump on a phone call that would have been, wouldn't have really got me anywhere. Again, I want to be friendly, but I'm only one person. And so I think you just really have to figure out where your lines are and be able to do what's best for the business overall and not for, just trying to be really friendly.
And again, if like our business was larger and we wanted to hire somebody that their job was to be the gatekeeper, essentially, that would be one thing, because that person would stay busy just giving people fake quotes, I believe. Like, I don't even think they'd be real quotes and estimates on various things.
That's another thing that's big time waster. I will not give a quote to everybody. You come in
most of them, gosh. I don't think they're real. I think, hey, I've got this business, like it's literally this big. I've got this business in clothing. Can you do a website for me? Like, are you serious?
Yeah, we do.
What's the name of the business? What is the website? Like,
well, and I think there's some companies that they have to get so many bids in order to pick the one they really want. And so I think they're just trying to get design type bids. So not doing bids and not taking a lot of phone calls, man,
nobody's got time for that.
No,
we don't.
We don't.
The thing is like all of our clients are connected like Kevin Bacon. Like one client knows another client through the entire chain of our client. They've been told about Torie at some point in time and have made the decision to actually want to work with Torie. By no means, I mean, we don't want to go and just get a bunch of random people, because some of those, like back in that episode where you talk about you purchasing a list when you first bought,
right?
Like, not the road we want to go down.
There are seasons in your business though, and I think knowing what season you're in, like I'm not in the season that I'm going to do, $50 logos for just anybody that comes around. I don't really want to do projects that are less than, $10,000. I do better like working really intensively with one client, getting a lot of stuff or big things set up rather than doing a lot of little things. And so for us to take on that many random small phone calls and things like that, it's just not the season of our business right now. And so I think knowing what season your business is in is really helpful to figuring out how you can use your time the best. Another one, and this is the same type of thing, jumping on a phone call, is that, oh my gosh, and it's even more the last year. Like people are like, can we jump on a Zoom?
Why does it need to be in video? Like we don't get dressed on a daily basis.
Like I probably come straight from the gym to work however long, and then take my daughter to karate. Like I'm not going to do my hair and stuff for that. So I don't really want to jump on a client Zoom call necessarily. Every single time, when it could be a phone call, or even better, it could be an email, and not, spend a lot of time for everybody. I know you had somebody recently come to you about a big project that they wanted to start, and I could hear you talking on the phone, and I almost died because they were like, why don't we jump on a Zoom call, or why don't we have a meeting, just about an hour and a half or so, and we could just talk about how we're going to get the project started. Like, it's not even a for sure thing. I think that's a lot. When you're a business owner, yes, you want to be nimble, and yes, you want to be open to lots of opportunities, but you get too many of those people. How many people do we know that like they've come to talk to us about some big project they want to do and it never goes anywhere? Like people will waste your time over and over and over again. So trying to fine tune when it is an opportunity that you do want to jump on an actual phone call or meet them in person and have this really long meeting. You got to be wary about that because your time is so important.
Especially if you struggle with saying no. When we first started out, there were some crazy projects, especially through like going to BNI and the chamber. You wind up meeting some people that they're like, oh, you do graphic design, marketing, all this kind of stuff. Can you design a board game or like all kinds of just crazy stuff that's not really in our, like, could we do it? Yes. I would stand behind Torie's design on like anything. She could design anything. So could we do it? Yes. Should we? Probably not, especially because what happens is somebody's got a great idea and they have done nothing other than reach out to us to want to do everything for them. And so like there's no skin in the game. So here we are, trying to bust to do all these things. And we've done this. We've gone down that road where we've done a bunch of stuff that it was somebody else's idea. We're like, great idea. Let's do it. We go and do our part. They don't do theirs.
And then they're like, well, I got a lot going on right now, so I'm not going to do this now.
Like seriously, like we don't have time to just play around with this stuff. Like you want to do it. We're going all in. Like miles through time. Like we're going to do it. We're going to do it. There was no, well, we'll think of a name and maybe we'll kind of play around with it. No, it's a legitimate thing that's been going for 4 years now. There's no playing around. I wouldn't want to do it with no intention of continuing to do it because it would wind up being a waste of time.
I think some of that comes with being in business longer and like you said, kind of knowing like we don't want to design board games. Like, that's just not the direction that we're going. So kind of being able to be in business long enough to know where you want to kind of be nimble and move into, and where you know that, like, let's not go there because this is the direction that we're going. And again, is that the season of your business where, you know, you'll do just about everything? Because in the beginning, I would have designed anything. And I did. I designed some weird ass shit. And in that, I learned, well, I do want to do this, and man, I never want to do that, and I don't want to have that kind of client. And, you know, in talking about buying the list and things like that, when I actually advertised and had just anybody coming to me for business, when it was just me, or even me and a part-time assistant, like, I can't handle the amount of proposals and phone calls, and I have an idea, and, you know, I'm trying to be nice to everybody, and it was not possible. So knowing where you are in that definitely is going to help you steer your business and get your business to grow, rather than getting stuck on the phone or in meetings.
Right. And I think a lot of businesses too, that they get stuck on this piecemeal thing, and it really depends on where you are in your business. Like, even if you're a pizza joint, like, do you want to sell individual pizzas or individual slices, or do you want to have people, you know, buy one or two pizzas, a couple drinks and breadsticks and salads? Like, that's kind of where we are now. We don't want to just do your business cards. It's our clients, we're doing everything for them. And so it makes it a little bit easier for that one-off person that comes to us and says, I just want a flyer, you know, especially if it's like, I just want something printed. Like, we're at that point, Torie's not even designing it. Like, we're not the right customer or customer. We're not the right person for you, right? So, I mean, it's real important as a business owner, you start to understand where it is you are in that kind of stuff, because that is one of the under the radar places that you'll waste a ton of time just not doing stuff that you even want to do. Or, you know, if you're so busy, you know, selling that one slice of pizza at a time,
you're never going to get the catering job.
Never. And if that's what you want the catering job, you want those, you know, tons of pizzas sold at one time. Selling one slice at a time isn't going to do it, because it's going to take all your time away from being able to do that. Oh, I can't cater that, you know, 1,000 pizza order because I got to sell 10 slices over here to 10 people.
Well, and I think when you're selling individual small items, like, you really have to have a team. Like, you will run yourself into the ground trying to do really small stuff. And you know what? Sometimes in the beginning of business, you kind of have to do that to, you know, get that running start. But man, you can't continue to do that forever.
Now, there's definitely some sort of, I don't know what it would be called, like caterpillar effect or something. Like, you start out, you got to start out somewhere. At the very beginning, you're going to do whatever needs to be done to get your feet wet. Like, you got to do something. But somewhere along the line, you're going to figure out what it is you want to do, and you're going to have to morph into that thing. There's going to be a transition point there where you're not quite there yet, but you want to be. So you've got to progress and get to that point, or you're always going to stay that tiny caterpillar. And eventually you're going to stress yourself out. You're going to be miserable. You're going to quit. And you don't want that. I
think that's where a lot of people do end up quitting and going back to working for somebody else, because they can't get past that. And it's a hard point to get past. You know, you don't want to take on a whole bunch of, you know, inexpensive small projects or small clients, because you need to be able to save time for bigger ones. I talked to several clients about this that do, you know, coaching and things like that. Like, they can't keep taking on all the little teeny clients when they need, you know, just a couple more that are bigger clients. But making that transition, it's hard, but you can do it. Like you said, you do. You just have to push through until you can make it to, you know, that next part. But if you don't figure this kind of stuff out and figure out how you can be more productive, I don't even want to say productive, because that makes it sound like, you know, you should be busy
doing something
stuff.
Specific.
Like, don't just do stuff. It's not about doing stuff. It's about doing the specific things that are going to get you to break through that. And if you're always wasting time, you know, I talk about, like, email could waste my whole entire day. If I spent all my time in my email trying to respond to every single email and do all these things that And I don't want to say they don't matter. It's just that like I would be better to get in my email 3 or 4 times a day and get as many things out as I can. And some days I only get in my email twice because I need that time to be able to do these bigger things.
Don't do shit that doesn't need to be done. If you want to save time, stop doing that stupid shit.
And you gotta decide what that stupid shit is. And again, season of your business, stuff that was important before might not be important now. You know, you could watch the episode about cloning yourself, and I talk a lot in there about like going over everything that you do and everything that needs to be done, and then kind of really going through that and figuring out what doesn't need to be you. Because once I stopped wasting my time, and it has to be done. So wasting sounds like such a bad, dirty word, but once I stopped wasting my time doing it and Sean took it over, like Sean's gonna do it just as well, if not better than me, because that's not where my time needs to be. And once I was able to free up a lot of that stuff, it was amazing that I could take on bigger projects and I could do bigger things and dream of bigger things that we could be doing rather than doing, $100 logos or $500 websites or these smaller things that were great 15 years ago that just, we would die now. We were just like chugging along trying to do those because it's a different season.
I think it really comes down to what your role is in your business. I mean, what do you want your role to be? Are you the person, are you the salesperson that's in your business? Are you the one that needs to be making the phone calls and all that kind of stuff? Or are you the creator? Like Torie is the creator. Are you the one that's actually making whatever it is that you're selling? Because if that's your role, stay off the damn phone. Like outsource that. Get somebody to do that part of your business. You cannot continue to do every aspect of your business and expect to do it for any amount of time that's going to make you successful. On the off chance you do, more power to you. Chances are you probably don't have much of a family life. You might be miserable. I'm making assumptions here based off of how I would feel. Like I don't want to do it all, and you shouldn't have to.
Yep. It's very true. Yeah. We talk about a lot of things. We're like, wow, that would be really awesome to do if we were single and didn't have kids. Because there really is. There's a difference in what your goals are outside of your work time and what you actually want to do in your business and the direction you want your business to go.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to run your business that if you don't have a clear path, you're just wasting time until you peter out.
And we don't want anybody to peter out. Like, you got big goals, you gotta go for them, and wasting time is definitely not going to get you there. So you can figure this out. We did.
So there's obvious ways that time's wasted, and then some of the less obvious ways are kind of the ones that you really need to be aware of, and the only way you can do that is to kind of sit back and look at the whole picture and where do you fit in all this. And once you do that, then you'll realize where those hidden time-wasting things are that they're going to bite you in the ass at some point.
But you can do it. So if you like this episode, we would love it if you would leave a review, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. If you want to get smart tools to build your business, go to besmartaf.com.